Welcome to Career Chronicles. If you don't know what Career Chronicles is, you should do already. It is just me lockdown's nearly over. I mean, it's easy, it's nearly done. But anyway, it's just me talking to people that I care about and admire and letting you watch me talk to them as well. So today's person I'm speaking to is a man who does everything. I mean, he's an author, he's a comic book writer, he's a presenter, he's an actor. He's not defined by any of those things. He just is him. And that's what makes him so brilliant. He is a man, to me, He-Man, who has done a lot of things, including Doctor Who, Torchwood, Desperate Housewives, Arrow, Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow. That's right. If you have not guessed it, it is John Barrowman.
Hey! I like your shirt. He-Man!
I wore the shirt that I thought represented you most to me. So it was
nice.
It was the He-Man shirt. Yeah, exactly. Whoa, hey. Slow down, buddy.
Master of the universe, I don't think so.
Well, I don't know, man. You have kind of your own universe, which we will talk about. But I just wanted to, since we don't have a lot of time and you have literally done so many things, I just want to hit the ground running. Well, firstly, actually, before I do that, how has lockdown been for you? What's been going on and what's your experience been?
It's been many different things, and we're very lucky that we're in our house in Palm Springs, and we were only meant to be here for like a month's vacation. I was supposed to have already been in filming back in the UK.
Wow.
I was supposed to have been in Australia, New Zealand, Italy, and a couple of different places around the US, but we came back for the month break to hang out in the sunshine at our house here. I was on a flight that got word that all travel had been shut down. We were either going to turn back, the pilot said, or continue to move forward, go to LA. Fortunately, we got to LA. I got in a car to be driven to Palm Springs because I never drive after those flights because I've had a little tipple.
a little, right.
It's a woman who drives for us all the time, and she said, this is my last drive because we're shutting down. And I got to Palm Springs. We went into quarantine right away, Scott and I, because we'd been in the UK and we wanted to make sure we were okay before I then started dealing with my mom and dad, who are 87 and 85.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, of course.
So then we got the word that everything was shutting down, and we've been here ever since. I had 1 week where I got really down and depressed.
Yeah.
But I had to, and angry, and I had to then realize how lucky we are to be in this space and not in a small space.
Yeah.
And confined, and everybody else is in the same boat. So there's really not much you can do except get on with it.
Exactly. And how is it? You talk about that time you were down. How has it generally been for you, lockdown? And what have you missed? What have you like? Oh, I missed that. I took that for granted or didn't, but I miss it. What's that been?
First of all, people who know me or people who don't know me, I'm a workaholic. So
I know that. We're going to talk about that later. So am I, but you take it to another level.
My world revolves around my work. So when I'm not doing anything, I have nothing. And I used to have dreams about what would I do if everything just shut down? And in my mind, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
So I started, the one thing that I realized over this whole time are people who were friends that I didn't get in touch with a lot. All of a sudden, I'm in touch with them more now. Yeah. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
And the ones that I thought were going to be there, the ones that are on this hand, I'm telling you, Noel, no.
I know. It's crazy, right?
And it really upset me. And there was a period where I was trying to get in touch with people, and they were just void, gone.
Yeah. It's crazy. But it's a crazy world right now. Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening, as we know. And I just think these times are times that we need to, obviously, I'm saying what's obvious, we need to try and pull together, but it just seems like the world is going mad.
Well, we try to pull together, but when we have people that we're meant to, but don't respect, who are trying to pull us apart and be divisive, that's when it's very difficult. And that's a whole other conversation.
A whole other conversation, yeah.
We need to let in our voices that, and I say this because we have a platform and a privilege that we can speak, and we have to speak out against everything that's going on to
100%.
help people that need the most help.
100%. I love that. I love that. So going back a little bit before we come full circle to now, let's take it back to Little John, back in the days, the young whippersnapper, little Barrowman. What is it that made you want to perform? What is it that made you want to act or perform when you were really young? And did your family see it straight away?
I always showed an interest in with musicality, in the sense that I was my mom worked in a record shop in Shettleston, just outside of Glasgow, and where we lived in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
And I used to go down to the record shop, and I would be about 3 or 4 at that time, and I used to stand on the counter and sing the songs of the top 5 to whoever came in and wanted to. And there was, I remember vividly, there was a guy who was he was blind and had a couple of other challenges going on, and he used to sit and I would sing to him, and he would listen to the songs, and then he would buy the songs that I sang. So that was kind of my first memory of it. The vibe where I got is I knew that I wanted to do it was when I saw, I think it was Peter Pan and it must have been a pantomime. It was at the Kelvin Hall in Glasgow. Wow. And I saw that, and I remember looking at it and thinking, I was speechless. I wanted to be a part of something that made me, I can explain it now, but I didn't know what it was then.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a part of something that was making me feel that way. I wanted to make other people feel that way, take them and transport them into that other kind of realm. So that was it, really. And I used to, you're too young to remember this, but there was a TV show called Opportunity Knocks.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Which was pre to Britain's Got Talent. And I think actually like Lenny Henry came from Opportunity Knocks. And there was a girl named Lena Zavaroni, who unfortunately has passed away now, but she was a singer from Scotland. And I just remember watching her belting out these numbers. And I used to pretend to play and be Lena Zavaroni in the playground of the school in Mount Vernon in 1970. Oh. That was a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine people be like, hey, this kid is interesting. Like, yeah. But I mean, that I get, when you were that young, when you were really young, did you know you were gay? Did you know what gay was? Could you tell you were?
I had no idea what gay was. I had no idea what the word was. Yeah. In the old days, I used to hear words that we don't say anymore.
No.
And
I got called one of those words on Twitter today, but we won't.
Did you?
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Tell me who it was. I'll go find them for you.
Anyway, sorry.
So those words were, used commonly.
Yes.
And in a derogatory manner. So I grew up with that, but I knew I was different.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I liked hanging out with the girls and the boys. I liked to play with the girls and with dolls and do their hair. But yet I also like to go and play, sport games with the boys. So there was this kind of thing going on in my head of like, do I worry about it?
Yeah.
But I never did. I really didn't. And my parents never, ever made me feel like I shouldn't be involved in music and theater, or I shouldn't be involved in sport, because as I grew up, and when I reached puberty, started going through puberty, that's when I understood what it was, because I looked at a magazine, and I won't say what the magazine was, but it was my older brothers.
Yeah.
And I looked at the picture, and I realized that I was looking at the man, not the woman.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew.
Yeah. Interesting, amazing. By the way, can I just say, I miss the days when I was a kid and finding one of those magazines. It was like forbidden treasure. Don't you miss those days? Like, everything's online now with these kids. I remember I used to walk home and I'd be like,
oh yeah, we used to go on bike rides. We lived in a neighborhood where we used to go on a bike ride. My friend Mike Molina and I used to bike ride to a quarry, go swimming. And at that time, I mean, I had a massive crush on him, but he didn't know that. And it was a boy crush. So we used to go swimming. And then on the way back, we used to go over this bridge, which would go over a freeway, not a big freeway, but an American smaller freeway. And under the bridge, we always used to stop and check, because someone always left. Because it's where our older brothers used to go and hang out.
Yeah, man. whenever I used to find one under a bush, you'd walk past and then you'd walk past again. You'd be like, and then you flip the page with your foot and then grab it and run like, oh man, I missed those days. Anyway, so let's take the, how does Young John perform and get to Live and Kicking, which was a really big deal back then? Like I know it's quite a jumping journey, but
no, it's fine.
Just take
that
us
that was all. I'd done, a commercial for a national product in the States. I worked at a place called Opryland USA performing. And when I was my first job in the West End was Anything Goes in '89. At the time Live and Kicking came about, I was doing Phantom of the Opera in the West End, playing Raoul. And I had heard that Philip Schofield was going to be leaving Live and Kicking, as was Sarah Green.
Yeah.
And they were going to be changing it. The BBC were looking for new presenters. So I took a video camera, the old school video camera. I went around London and I did a mock-up kind of TV show. They said, put yourself on video and send us something that would catch our attention. And I went around and did a what's hot and what's not in London at that time. Interviewed people, videoed stuff. I went into Hamley's toy store, got thrown out because obviously I didn't have permission to film.
To film, yeah.
And I didn't know that then. And I'm like, I'll erase the footage, no problem. Didn't do it. I sent it on to the BBC. BBC called me in. I tested with Andy Peters and Emma Forbes.
Wow.
And they told me I got the job. Wasn't allowed to say anything. I then, a couple of days later, went to I was recording the cast album of Godspell. And the guy who was producing the album brought in this guy, who I know really well, Darren Day.
Yeah. And
walked him in and said, I want everybody to meet Darren Day. He's going to be singing the role of Jesus, and he is going to be the new presenter on Live and Kicking. Yeah. And I leaned over to Ruthie Henshaw, and I looked at her and I said, Ruthie, I've got a secret to tell you. I don't know if this album is going to sell very well because Jesus ain't going on Live and Kicking.
That's
what do you mean? I said, I got the job, and I'm not allowed to tell anybody. So it was very funny the way it all worked out. But yeah, that was the beginning of my TV career because that was, I started in children's television.
Yeah. And you seem like you were already working loads by then. You were already doing loads and loads of different things. Like you said, you were doing the Phantom of the Opera and whatnot. Where did the workaholic attitude come from? Where did that mindset come from?
From I go back from my dad, my mom, my grandmothers, and my grandfathers. We were all grafters. In Scotland, if you were working and something came up where you didn't have enough money to feed the family by the end of the week, you found a way to make some money.
Yeah.
And that was it. So my family is, the Barrowmans are very much like that, where, we don't sit back and wait for people to go, here's the job, go and do it.
I feel you.
As much as we like when they do that.
Yeah.
But, it's like why I have a company here in the States because I don't want to sit around and when times might be difficult or, luckily I haven't had dry periods except now.
Yeah.
But I have a company with a young lady that we look after other actors to send them to do personal appearances like conventions and things like that.
Amazing.
So I've constantly got things on the go, and I just think it's important to challenge yourself.
I mean, you know me pretty well.
We're the same.
Yeah, exactly. You know that. So, all right, listen. So then you did a few more things like the movie game and whatnot, and all of that was leading its way to a certain thing we're going to get to in a second.
Movie game, yo!
Hey, sorry, yeah, the movie game.
The movie game, yo!
But before that, we're going to play a little thing called Best. So it's pretty simple. I just say, John Barrowman, what was your best? And then you tell me your best, whatever that was.
Oh, so you're lucky. I never ever say my favorite thing. So if I'm doing this for you, you're special.
Well, this is Hoovy, and
you know why you're special to me. That's our secret.
That's our secret. Anyway, so John Barrowman, first and foremost, what is, and this is like Highlander, there can be only one. What is the best musical you have ever seen? I know, man. I'm sorry, bro, but
the best musical I have ever seen so far.
Yes.
Because it has changed the face of musicals.
Yes, fair enough.
Would have to be Hamilton.
Ah, yes.
because it introduced an entirely new style of musical theater where it's not just about a book and music put together. It is book, story, music all wrapped into one rap, being the word, and is completely brand new, a brand new genre of musical that set a new precedent for everybody.
100% great answer, and thank you. Next one, John Barrowman. What is the best dessert you have ever had?
The best dessert I've ever had.
Yeah, buddy. Hit me.
Is Eton Mess.
Ooh, where? Where from? Which one?
Well, Eton Mess, they do it, a version of it. Is it? I think it's at the Ivy they do it, but I wouldn't know the specific place. Anytime there's Eton Mess on the menu, I will go with Eton Mess.
Yeah, great. I love that. It is pretty nice, I gotta say. My wife does a good one. Okay, last one before we move on to what everyone wants us to move on to. John Barrowman, what is the best thing you have ever signed? Yeah, you can say. My show gives no F's about anything. You can say what it is. Was it a labia? Was it a boob? What are we talking about here?
Oh, you're talking autograph. I was going to do something completely different.
Oh, you can tell me that too. I don't mind.
Okay, so this has to be a two answer then, because the best thing I've ever signed autograph would be Scott Bakula's ass cheek.
Who? Quantum Leap, dude. Quantum Leap.
For those of you who don't know who Scott Bakula, Quantum Leap, and also he was a captain on Star Trek series. So I signed his ass in front of thousands of people as I hosted a panel. All the captains were on. The thing that one of the best things I've ever signed was my first contract that I got, and I had a pen, and I still have the same pen I signed that contract with.
Amazing. That's amazing. Oh, fantastic. Right, so let's get back. Sorry, there's a fly in here. Let's get back onto track. So we do a few more things.
Wait. No, my name's very long. Scott Bakula had a big ass.
Yeah, I can imagine. He's living a good life from those Quantum Leap royalties.
It was a good ass. I mean, it was
a peach. Yeah, great. So we move on. You do a load of things. There's loads of, almost too many things to mention. And then we do this little show that nobody's heard of called Doctor Who. How does that happen? And how do you go from presenting to acting? And was that always a goal of yours?
Well, it wasn't part of being the entertainment industry for me is entertaining people, and it's a business. So therefore you should, like you do, you screenwrite, you direct, you're also in the movies. So you never limit yourself to one specific thing. You enjoy doing multiple things.
100%.
And that's the way I look at my career. So when they came along, I heard, my agent called me, Gavin, who I'm still with today, and he said they're creating a new character for a new series of Doctor Who. As a kid, I grew up with Doctor Who. I loved it. I was used to hide behind the sofa, all that kind of stuff. And I never thought that ever an American like myself, who was, left Scotland and went to the States, would be involved in that show.
Yeah.
I went down and auditioned. I prepared the scripts. I prepared Captain Jack as a Brit, an American, and also as a Scot. So they had variety. And I read them all three ways. When I my first initial meeting was with Russell, and I say my first, it was the only one.
Yeah.
It was Russell and Phil Collinson. I went in and I sat down for them, and they told me later that when I walked in, I was wearing my leathers from my bike, and I took my helmet off and I shook my head.
And they were like,
they both literally, what he said, they went, oh my God. They said, when you walked in the door, we knew we were giving you the part. We didn't care if you could speak. They were like, that was it. We were just mesmerized.
Amazing.
But we had a great conversation. And the one thing that wasn't happening a lot at that time, and you'll understand this, musical theater people and people who were doing other types of jobs were not being put on television or in films as actors. For me, It's all the same. To sing a song and to emote an emotion and to get the story told through a song is acting. It's just a different way of doing something, and you have to either learn or understand how to do it. So I sat down with Phil and Russell and I said, look, I am passionate about the show Doctor Who. I love it. I've loved it as a kid. No one will ever take a chance in giving a lot of musical theater people the chance to transition over into television.
Yeah.
If you give me this chance, I promise you I will work my ass off. I will try to make it the biggest success. I will try to make it popular. I will try to make him popular. I said, I will do whatever you ask on screen to make this work, blah, blah, blah. And I basically, passionately spoke to them. And apparently I left the room. Russell and Phil called Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter right away, showed them the tape, and I got a call 40 minutes later when I got back into the West End to do an evening show because it was between two shows.
Yeah.
They said, you're Captain Jack Harkness. Amazing. You just can't tell anybody for 9
Again.
months.
And then someone walks into the musical theater and goes, I'm playing Captain Jack Harkness.
I did tell, obviously, Scott, who was my partner, not my husband then, but I told him, I told my niece who was with me, I told my sister, I told
this is a lot of people now.
Yeah, but it was just family members and my mom and dad. I told them they could not say a word.
Fantastic. Beautiful, beautiful thing. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about Captain Jack and how amazing you made him in this show and the fun we had on season 1 and 2. It was amazing, right? What was your
Captain Cheesecake?
Captain Cheesecake. Mickey Mouse.
Cheesecake to you.
Yeah.
We didn't know, and David and I, and I'm sure you talk with others about this, and I say this, we may not see each other a lot, but you and I, David, Billy, even Chris, with Chris being in the first season, all of us, Camille, I want to rattle off everybody's names, but you all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. We
all have a bond that no one will understand, no one can ever change, because that show, that first season, changed our lives.
100%.
And put us on a different place on the map as people in this industry.
100%.
And we were able to go on and do other things. I mean, you went on to do film and to produce and, Kidulthood and all that kind of stuff. 10 by 10, which I really love.
Oh, thank you.
And when I saw your name come up, I was like,
what? Yeah, we produced it. I wrote that as well, I
know you did. You did. And the girl who played the main character in it, she's now on Yellowstone, and she's phenomenal. She is phenomenal.
She's fantastic.
Anyway, I digress. So, Torchwood came for me. That again changed my life. Captain Jack, if I could bottle the formula, it's partially because of the writing, because of the people who were producing it, who understood that change needed to be made.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at all of us in the TARDIS at that time, it was the most diverse casting, and everybody had an equal part to play and to bring together in order, and we were all there to save the universe.
100%. And how important was it, do you feel, at that time, because you got to figure, man, 2005, to have a openly omnisexual character out there on TV and representing everyone? That was remember, it was also played by an openly gay man. At that time, there was only a couple of us who took the risk to go. I mean, literally, and I'm just going to say, I thought nothing of it, but then when I spoke to Scott and my family about it, my attitude was, fuck it, I have to do this. I have to do this because it's the show I love. It's going to make an impact, and it's also normality of who I am,
who other people are,
Yeah.
and that we should not be judged because of who we fall in love with.
Yeah.
And it was the only time that the press really caught on to it was when it was after I kissed the doctor, because I didn't come out until I did. I can't remember. It's muddled in my head. So someone will watch this and go, your timeline's wrong. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
But my point being, it changed a lot. It allowed people to see young gay men and LGBTQ plus and trans men and women to look at someone who was representing truthfully who they were and playing a character who didn't give a shit about what people thought about them.
100%. It was so important. And I don't think, and Mickey being the first, a lot of people said Martha, but Mickey was the first Black companion. And I don't really think any of us, we knew, but we didn't all know how important that first season, that sort of groundbreaking crew in the TARDIS, or superfluous people in the TARDIS was.
I say this and I hope you understand what I mean. We didn't know because we didn't take our gender, our color, and define ourselves by it.
100%, yeah.
You were Noel, I was John. Yeah. You were the
sexy Barrowman, or Mr. Barrowman to me.
Yeah, but you were the sexy beef that I was looking at, and I was the one you were looking at going, you're crazy. You're crazy. Yeah. So we saw each other for who we were, and that's why I think it made the impact, because we weren't trying to make something of it. Does that make sense?
100% makes sense. 100%.
And if it was being made, it was the producers and it was the higher-ups who were doing it, and it was unbeknownst to us.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I love that time with you, and I love you loads. So were you shooting the show, were you nervous at all when you first got into it? Was it, and what was then, or what is now, your process as an actor?
I wasn't nervous. I just remember the first time I went, and it was the first scene, and I was shooting with Billy on top of it was in green screen. My first experience was green screen. Oh. And I was on top of a spaceship in front of Big Ben, and I had to dance with her. And it was just before Christmas. Everybody was really tired. There was a lot going on because Chris had already decided he was leaving. So there was a lot of stress. Yeah. And I came in, oh my God, big job, so happy. And Billy told me, she said it was like a breath of fresh air. And I remember that first scene, them saying to me, they said, look, we need you to land on this specific dialogue at these specific moments, because if you do that, we'll be out of here in an hour or two or whatever the time was. And they kept saying it to me, and I went, guys, no problem. Just tell me where you want me to land with the dance. And I remember the director going, he's not going to be able to do this. We're going to have to do this in cuts. And I'm like, no, tell me. You know why? Because it's musical.
Yeah, exactly.
I just used the dialogue and then the dance, and I hit every moment, but still telling that story. And we were out of there. I think it was before 10 o'clock in the evening, and they were so thankful because everybody got home for their Christmas break early.
Fantastic.
But saying that, my process, you'll understand this, but a lot of people may not. I learn it, and I just get up and do it.
Yeah.
Because I think if I think about it too much, or I process it too much, people will say to me, do you want to run dialogue in the trailer? And I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to run it for myself. And I also then think, well, if I run it with other people, they're going to plan the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
Which, if you plan it, then you're not playing that tennis game back and forth, because I shouldn't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of it. It's new conversations to the characters. Yeah.
Correct. And it's not real life if I know what you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I mean, if you have to pick up something and do an action shot, and it's structured, that's different, because that's the actor's job then to fit the dialogue within it to make it look fresh and new. But if we're having a conversation and you decide to scratch your face, you decide you just scratch your face.
Scratch your face, exactly.
Yeah, and in the dialogue it might say.
And it took me a while to learn that as well. There would be times, for example, you talk about that. There would be times when I was a younger actor and I'd be in a scene, and in the scene, for example, my face would start itching me, and I would not scratch my damn face.
Yes!
Because I'd be like, and I'm in the scene like, yeah, but the thing about it is, my face is itching like fuck, and I won't scratch it. And it took me years to kind of understand, like,
It's okay to pick your nose.
Shoot this damn fly that's around here. Like, yeah, it's okay to do it. And it took me a long time to kind of, realize that. So I hope other actors, the young actors that are hearing this, can realize they can do that. So, all right, Doctor Who, Torchwood. How does that happen? And how amazing was that?
Torchwood was, it was 7/11 when the bombings in London happened.
Yeah.
I was doing a cabaret that night. I put out a call on social media, which was new at that time, for people to come to the show. We weren't shutting down. We were not going to allow other factors and other people to change the way we lived. So everybody came. I then had to get my husband Scott to go pick up Julie Gardner, who was coming to. She wanted to talk to me about something, and she came on the back of Scott's motorcycle. Never forget the sight of Julie Gardner in a skirt getting off the back of the motorcycle, and I said to her, "Please tell me you have knickers on." She came to see. We went to dinner, and they told me that they were giving me. I think that again timeline. I knew I wasn't going to be in the second series because they were going to let David establish himself as the Doctor. Captain Jack was a strong character and could take away, so they let David have that and establish the relationship with Rose and you guys. I was told, however, they'd be giving me my own show, spin-off called Torchwood.
You must have been like, what?
Yeah. And when they told me it was an anagram, I'm like, Torchwood? Anagram of Doctor Who? I'm like, oh my God. That's the only time I ever felt nerves.
Yeah, wow.
Because I went on, did the show that night. Again, I wanted to burst and tell people, couldn't. However, no spin-off of Doctor Who had ever worked to that date. Wow. So we did feel a little bit of pressure. And the only thing, again, that I can say that because it worked is Russell and all of the writers who, again, were teams from, Who and moving back and forth, they were able to capture, as they did with all of us on Who, our personalities and integrate that into the writing. So they were able to, people connected with us again. Yeah. And, here was Captain Jack, who was part of that team on the TARDIS, now was a hero in his own right, representing something completely different, but still in that world of Doctor Who, and it all intertwined. Honest to God, it
was amazing.
People laugh at me. I've got in the other room, the TV room, I have the action figures, I have the squareness gun, I have the vortex manipulator, I have everything. I have dolls on the counter, and people are like, "Why do you have all that up there?" I said, "Because that guy gave me this."
Yeah,
100%. That guy changed everything.
Changed
everything for me.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So then after that point, you start getting the roles. A lot more things happen. We head to America, do Desperate Housewives. I mean, how was that? That was a hell of a show at the time.
Well, this is what I say. Captain Jack led me to Desperate Housewives because Mark Cherry, who is the writer of Desperate Housewives, who I know now, Mark was a big Captain Jack fan. Wow. And he took me out to brunch. And as I'm sitting at brunch, funnily enough, I'm talking to him, and he introduces me to his personal trainer, who I went to school with, to college.
Wow.
So I got, met back up with people. And then anyway, he said, "I want you to play this character on Desperate Housewives. You'll be the villain for the season." And, it was Doctor Who. Sorry, it was Torchwood that said I could. Was it Torchwood or something? There was another job I was doing. I think it was Torchwood in the States. They said he has to be killed off because Torchwood was going to be on Stars. Yeah. And I couldn't compete on another drama. Yeah. With the drama that I was on. That's one of the rules in the contract. Yeah. So they blew me up. I was an eco-terrorist. They blew me up in Eva Longoria, who I've stayed in touch with since then. And I just did, she directed a pilot that we did for the CW last season, but it didn't get picked up. Right. But so, there's still all that, as intertwining going on.
Intertwining, yeah.
Captain Jack after Desperate Housewives then led me to Arrow because
we're gonna get to Arrow shortly because that's a whole nother thing. But I just wanted to say, ask, with that amazing, when that happened, when Desperate Housewives happened, was there a sense of, you're not kind of really this guy, but was there a sense of vindication? Bearing in mind, in the Doctor Who audition, you were kind of like, give me this chance, I promise you, knowing that people didn't generally take musical theater actors seriously in professional acting. When you start getting these things and you get Desperate Housewives, which was like the biggest show in the world, was there sort of a sense of like now nobody can say a fucking thing?
No, I would love to. I have to be totally honest with you because you know me, I'm not someone who will make it up just to get a headline.
No.
I would love to say that I turned around and went, yeah, fuck you, I've done this now. But I didn't.
No.
I didn't.
Just kept going, right?
It's not me. It's not my...
yeah, I said, yeah.
It's not me to look back. And I mean, if anything, I look back further than that to people who said to me that you'd never make it.
Yeah.
Because making it to me is not about... I would have been perfectly happy if I was working and doing 8 shows a week in the West End, singing and dancing, because for me, success is about working. And if you're working and you're earning...
And you're happy.
And you're happy, that's a success.
Yeah, 100%.
So all this other stuff, Desperate Housewives, Doctor Who, Torchwood, that's like icing and more cream on the cake. And it's building another layer. So for me, when I got Desperate Housewives, which is one of the top 5 TV shows in the history of television.
I know. Yeah, it was amazing.
I was like, this is pretty awesome. And Drea Mateo, who plays my wife on it, I still speak to Dre. I see her every so often. Again, like I'll see her in the street and she'll be like, Johnny! She always says to me, you still want me to have a baby for you? I'm like, girl!
Yeah, hey. Come on, man. Tick, tick, tick.
No, come on. Yeah, well. I don't look back on things and think about the vindication or I just get on with it.
Yeah, I understand that. I completely, because also you can't really, because you get bogged down and going, it's just about move on and move on, move on.
But I do go to bed when I get the big gigs, and I go to bed at night and I lie in bed and I smile.
Yeah, 100%. That's the best thing.
I smile and I go, good on you, kid. People are proud of you. That's it.
Good. And just a little segue, like you have books, like authored books, novels, you have comics, you have albums, you do live shows on ships, you have calendars. How do you fit it all in?
I have a team of people and a husband and everybody around me who kind of manage it. And I don't like Scott. Yeah, well, Scott doesn't understand. He understands it more now because, and a friend of ours, Ian, kind of explained, I don't know, who's his best friend. I don't like to think about it's kind of like what we do as actors. Yeah. I don't like to think about what's going on 3 or 4 days down the line. I like to think about what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if I have to prep for those 3 or 4 days, I'll start doing the work, but I'm not going to worry about it till I have to do it.
Yeah.
So therefore, every job for me that I'm doing gets the 100% and full attention. So, and it's all mapped out. Like, for instance, if I'm doing, let's say I'm filming in LA, I'm coming to the last day of my filming or 2 days, and then I'll get a thing from my manager or from my assistant, Kelsey or Scott will give me a ring. They'll say, right, tomorrow you got to be ready and pack for this TV appearance, because you're going to the UK and then you're going to be on those shows, pack for that, and then you're going to be filming at the end of the week in such and such. And that's the way I work it. That's the way I do it.
Amazing. So more things happen, and then we get to another little show, and I say more things happen because there's so many things I just kind of have to paraphrase, right? But then we get to another tiny show by a little unknown comic company and a network called Arrow. So how in the sweet F does that happen, firstly? And how much fun was it to be a supervillain on Arrow, Flash, and I think you also...
Legends of Tomorrow.
Like, what the F, man?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Well, okay. So, first of all, to be a villain on those shows, and the same villain that was a through line...
I know, man.
I was the one of the first characters in that universe of Arrow to have the contract that said I was a series regular in 3 network TV shows.
Amazing. By the way, my wife is a big fan of all 3 of those shows, and we watched you consistently the whole time from Arrow. Like sometimes I'd be like, "Oh, come on, Arrow." She's like, "But John's in it." I'm like, "Fine," and we'll watch Arrow. Yeah, and we watched all of it. So she's a huge fan of all of that stuff. So yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, it's fine. I loved playing the villain because as you know, as things change in your career and your life and you get older, you have to change with those characters. So I was the bad villain dad. And, you know, at that time I didn't know that the girl who played Thea, Willa Holland, was going to be my daughter. That ended up, that was actually my husband Scott's idea. We were at lunch with Andrew Kreisberg, who was one of the creators. And he said, we want to make something. And Scott, just, you know, they were going to make me Oliver my son. And I said, it's too Darth Vader. It's too much. It's too. And Scott said, as he's eating a salad, why don't you just make Thea his daughter? And we both looked at each other and went, that's it. So Scott gets credit for that. And even in an episode, they called a doctor, one of the episodes, Sheridan Gill, after Scott to give him a thanks. Anyway, so that happened. Greg Berlanti, who is the producer of all those shows, the exec producer and the creator, one of the creators, he used to watch me on a show called Central Park West when he was a young boy and growing up as a gay man himself.
That was one of the earliest things you did, right?
Which one? Central Park West? Yeah. Central Park West was my first foray into American television. Yes. Yeah. I think you're right on that one. Yeah. Again, if it's wrong in the timeline, someone will tell me. But so he used to watch that, and he said he had a bit of a crush. And what was great, as he grew up, he then hired all of the people that he loved as a kid to do these shows. Yeah. And I was sitting at the counter in Palm Springs here, again coming for a vacation, and I got a phone call from my American agent saying the producers and the writers of this show want to have this new show, Arrow, want to chat with you. They sat me on the phone, and as they were talking to me, they gave such an impassioned speech. It reminded me of when I got Doctor Who and was talking with Russell and Phil, and they wanted me to be part of this new universe. I would be a character that would be part of it from the beginning to the end. Amazing. And I just said, guys, and they were fans also of Doctor Who. Doctor Who, amazing. So they love Captain Jack, and they said, we want to bring you in. You're going to be the dad, the villain, blah, 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 blah. Everything that happens in this show from the beginning to the end is going to revolve around you, that everyone will find out. I said, you've just described to me a universe that I would love to be a part of. And as a nerd, as a geek, as someone who loves fantasy and sci-fi, I would be stupid not to say yes. Yeah. Plus, if you put me in this show, I want a scene where the lead actor, Stephen Amell, is topless with me. And they wrote it at the end of season 1 when I had them all strung up in the in one of the warehouses. But ironically, again, we're all kind of like a family in that way. Stephen lives down the street from us in Palm Springs. My husband Scott designed and built his house. Oh man! So it's all. I say it's incestuous, but it's not. You know what I mean? I know what you mean. Yeah, amazing. But that show, again, put me on another... different level. It was amazing. Different level. And it changed my life. Fantastic. So you also did amazing movies like Zero Dark 30, and you popped up in a few other... I had one line in that. Yeah, but it was still like, I was watching it like, I love this movie. There's John! Like, it was everything... Still... I'll tell you one thing. I was filming for 2.5 weeks, and before every conference scene... I had a couple of speeches, and I would go home at night to Scott and I'd say, hun, they're going to cut all my stuff. Yeah. I know they are, because what I'm saying is they're going to cut to James Gandolfini, because his stuff is, people want to see him more than they want to see me on screen. Yeah. And when I saw it, they did, but people did, like yourself, were sitting in the movie theater and went, Captain Jack! Yeah. Same when I did Star Trek. People said they shout Mickey, literally Star Trek. Yeah. Mickey! So look, there's so many things that we could talk about career-wise, but, you know, let's put that aside. We know how brilliant you are. You're amazingly talented. I want to know, for you, like, what are you most proud of?
What are you most proud of? It doesn't have to be the who's or the,
No,
for you personally.
I don't have to think about that very hard. What I am most proud of is the things that I have been involved in that have helped further the human rights and the equality rights for the LGBTQ plus community. And people often say to me, and I'm only saying this because it's said to me, I don't think this.
Yeah.
I just do what I do. But people say to me, you're a legend, you're iconic,
Yeah.
you are, all sorts of things. And
Pioneer, for sure.
Huh?
A pioneer, for sure.
Oh, I just sit back, but I was just being me.
Yeah, of course.
And being me and being defiant in the sense of not allowing people to tell me not to be me may have lost me some things on this journey, but it's also gained me an incredible amount. And I don't mean success. I mean, in the way that I feel good about who I am because it helped other people. And that to me is the biggest thing that, and it also stems to like when I went to, which I'm also proud of, when I went to Buckingham Palace and got my MBE, I was a gay man with my husband sitting in the audience with my mom and dad in the palace being acknowledged for what I had done for the entertainment industry and for the charities that I was involved with. So I could not be more proud of all. So it's not so much the work. It's not, it's not what I've earned. It's not the things that I've created business-wise or the TV shows that I might have produced or worked on. It's what I've done for other young men and women who are able to stand up and now can be who they are and not be apologetic for it.
Beautiful. That's amazing, man.
Yeah. And I say this because we have a platform, but the same shit that's going on with Black Lives Matter, that I, as a white man who has privilege, needs to speak out and help the people who, are human beings who don't. We can't sit back and just let shit happen.
100%, man. And
I hope I made that sound. I hope that sounded right, because I don't want anyone to go, well, no. We have watched this happen and unfold on television for the last 5 days, and enough is enough.
No, 100%.
Not 5 days, for years.
100%. You're completely understood, and you being an ally is appreciated, and we know that people LGBTQ plus. We know that people go through this stuff as well, so I understand,
Stonewall and gay rights did not start, peacefully. They started with riots. And now I'm not saying to hurt people and to do that. No. And then people might say, but it's not, people who might be religious. Jesus walked into a building and threw over tables to upset and to stop things that were wrong and going on. 100%,
man. And allies like you are needed, and it is appreciated so much. And that's why so many people love you for being you. My other, the last question before we play was going to be what's important to you, but you kind of have said that. And I think you answered another thing, which I was going to say was like, you go on things and you do things like I'm a celebrity and these things where you're just yourself. And a lot of people, something I was going to kind of go was like, how do you survive that? And what I meant by that is a lot of actors, a lot of people kind of like, oh, I can't go on that because it will finish me. Or, people won't take me seriously anymore. But you've answered that for me in this interview. And it's because you are beautifully and unashamedly and totally, completely you. And by you just being you means that actually that's what people love you for. And therefore you can do things like that. And you don't have to be fearful and you don't have to worry. And I love that about you.
And I appreciate you saying that. The one thing that I had to do in there was remind people that they were on camera.
Yeah.
Because, if you're going to smoke a cigarette and smoke, then smoke, okay? Or I don't like it, but don't go hide off in the corner
so they
can't see you on camera and then pretend you don't smoke.
Yeah, That's right. You were always yourself, and you've answered that, and I love that, and I think that is why people love you, my man. That is why people love you. So, to wrap up, we're gonna play a little thing called "Give Me the Word." So I just say a word, one word, and then you come back with a one-word answer. Well, one word is as much as it can be one word.
Oh no, I'll try to stick to the one word. By the way, this is water I'm drinking. People will be like, drinking gin.
Yeah, of course it's water. Yeah, that's right. All right, here we go. Kettle.
Hot.
Cake.
Moist.
Lockdown.
Truth.
Interesting, yeah, good one. Equality.
Happiness.
Yep. Rubber.
Friday night.
Friday night. You are
two words.
Oh my God. Brilliant. Police box.
Life-changing.
Indeed. Turnips.
Turnips.
Yeah. Hey, bro. I just need the words. Just
Neeps. Neeps.
Neeps. Yeah. 100%. Liberation.
This is more than one word.
Fine.
Still coming.
Very good. Interesting. Beach.
Beach as in sand?
Yeah.
Naked.
Yeah. Housewives.
Housewives. I'm gonna say Eva Longoria. Eva.
Yeah, cool. Family.
Home.
Marriage.
Oh, peace.
Yeah. I bet that was a great moment when you guys were allowed to get married.
Oh, well.
I say allowed, but you know what I mean. You guys.
No, you're right. Allowed. We were finally able to get married because the law changed, and that's another thing that I was part and parcel to help change the laws with number 10 at that time. But the day it happened in California, on that very morning, we woke up, got a text from my sister, and I said to Scott, we'd already made the decision. The day it happened, no matter what we looked like, how we were dressed, we were going to go do it because we can.
Fantastic. All right, 3 more. Arrows.
Bullseye. No, I mean, I could say Malcolm Merlin, but it's too obvious.
Yeah. Okay.
Arrows. No, I'd have to say CGI.
The
first ones that were real. The rest were all CGI.
Yeah. Oh God, I can imagine. Home.
Ooh. Torn.
Good one. Last one. Blue box.
Hoovians.
Indeed. My man, John Barrowman, this, my friend, has been absolute education, an absolute pleasure. No, seriously, a pleasure, getting to know you even more than I have known you in the past. And I just want to say, I love you loads, my man. John Barrowman, your career has been chronicled.
Thank you very much.
So that was John Barrowman, and as you can see, he is, he's an amazing man. He is just unashamedly, unapologetically him, and I think that's what makes him so brilliant. He's a pioneer. He's a leader in the community he represents and for just all people. And he's a special guy that I have a lot of respect for and an affinity for. He was always nice to me. When others weren't always, he always was. And I just think that, you know, I wish him all the success in the world, because there aren't many nicer people than that guy. So John Barrowman, thank you, my man. Your career has been chronicled. And for all the people watching, as I always say, be kind. Let's try and be kind. Be real. Speak your mind. Speak up, especially now. Be ruthless. And I don't mean ruthless in a bad way. I mean, cut the toxic people out of your life. You just don't need them. Be kind. Be real. Be ruthless. I'm out.